Welcome back to my lovely IHP community and the 5D Collective. To those who are new, we are concluding Food for Thought channeled guidance from our full moon. So if you tune into our previous episode, you'll be able to catch up. And this one's going to be honing in on that, which are those empowering relationships, as we were discussing, being yourself with integration anchored in ventral and embodying your spiritual essence. So true spirituality is when you are able to live a life of meaning and connection beyond your soul self. That comes when you have arrived at that first stop of the spiritual destination, which is you have a functional child adult. Okay, so integration of the brain means that you don't have shit you throw at people. So you are a person who does not need a tarot real or a Patrick Tiahan to learn how to love yourself first. You know how to be an open-hearted, spontaneous human being, and that your past comes with you. And so with this, you do know shadow work parts. You might not use those words at all anymore. That's where I don't use any of these words personally in my relationships, because we are grown up. So we talk about the thoughts and the feelings. Okay, but I do know that some people, they use these words with each other. So for my collective overall, we're not gonna be picky about it. Everyone chooses how they talk, but the difference will be the tone. So as I mentioned to you in that previous episode, we have Gary B. I was watching one of his videos, and as he's saying, nobody gives a fuck about you. Empowered people know this. Nobody gives a fuck about me, but it's not in a way of, oh my God, I'm devastated. Because yeah, somebody gives a fuck, meaning I have my family. I got my mom, my twin, my younger sister, my other family members, my extended. I mentioned the primary ones because those are the ones of your primary 0 to 8. Okay, so you'll have developed as you are with them, and they are the figures that count the most, and then you expand that by the time you're an adolescent. Okay, so if you are a person who does know death do part, sickness and in health, in the way of being able to foster healing in relationships and transforming fear into growth, it's because you know how to be a person who's a best friend, a confidant. You're better than a therapist because you're romantically engaged, but really it's not just because of that. So the quote is, couples can do remarkable things to heal each other as best friends, confidants, better than any therapist because they're romantically engaged. Stan Tatchkin, Psych D, MFT. It's not just that. And actively, it's not the romance part. It's because we have non-traumatized, securely attached, independently self-regulating bodies in front of each other, and self-aware, accountable, regulating bodies. So people who know no relationship is absolute. It is always variable. You have to conduct it well on a daily basis. Thank you, said Guru. Well does not mean that we must be conforming to what societal ancient norms are. Well means that I see you and you see me, and we are in good company, and that our nervous systems are independently in ventral energy, and that we also take ownership mindfully and spiritually. And that just means in the open-heartedness of what is thoughts and feelings that come up, and we don't throw our emotions at you. We don't get defensive. We don't get protective. We don't lead with an adaptive child pattern of behavior where we talk over each other in our brain or in our hearts. And we don't hide things from each other. Okay, so that's where being yourself is the number one step. So your capacity to be embodying pure consciousness, which again we just discussed, but just in case you don't tune into that, as pure consciousness embodied in human form, you support human evolution and consciousness in your own unique way, and you live a mindfulness daily life thanks to mindset, mindfulness practices, and mindset skills. It means you can sift images, sensations, the feelings, the thoughts. Your mental and emotional activity are yours. I learned from a bunch of different attachment trauma educators, okay? I'm the pseudoscience woo lady because I bring to you human, spiritual, and spirituality elements. I'm for personal development, self-help, and spiritual growth. And we build a life that is of aliveness and wholeness and unconditional love. And so with integrity and flaws, I bring to you who I am. And you accept. And you don't say change. And you don't actually have the power, again, to do anything that disrupts my inner world. Why? Well, because the 5D Collective, as our lovely Sadhguru shares with us today, for one, he talks in other terms, meaning I don't know who he's talking to, but if you completely react, external situations determine how you are right now. That's 3D, 4D, and non-bilaterally integrated people who live out structural dissociation, cognitive dissonance, their self-fulfilling prophecies because they didn't get healed so that they could lead with their higher self. So their shadow self leads them. They're exiles. They're protectors. Okay, so they can do all the yoga they want. Spiritual bypassers are all over the place. And that's where you'll recognize it if you're a 5D mystic, because you know what it means to be of spirit. We all are part of it. We're all part of consciousness. Consciousness can't break. It's not a problem to the spiritual person that has blind faith. It's a truth. That isn't a truth, though, in the way of data, and I don't need to prove it. I can't. You either have faith or you don't. The truth that people always wanted to with science, yeah, scientists know 97% of what is out there is unavailable to be seen. They also know how facts work and that disproving and reproving can happen. Okay, so the smart ones are grounded in reality of the scientists and spirituality folk, and we don't use stories to put people against each other. Or stories in general, because we don't need them. So when I'm looking at economy, I'm going to know that there's a bunch of experts in a consilience way that could come along. So can with the environment. So can with a lot of other things. So I'm focused on supporting people to be their self. So personal development. Those who are committed to other, they're doing their thing. So if you consciously respond, your well-being is very much in your hands. And that's what you have. You have people who are securely attached, so we're not afraid of ruptures, because being terrified that a rupture means the end of a relationship sets people up from the very beginning to have a relationship that isn't genuine, that isn't real, that doesn't involve being able to just be yourself. Russell Coates, PhD. And that's where those who are 5D, we don't get into any relationship without making it clear, this is who I am, this is who you are, open-hearted, transparent, and consistently working with each other so that we can all be fulfilled, because there's only one life that you get to live that we know of with your name, and we're going to make sure that we live the best of the best of the best for real and not pretend. So again, the journey to yourself, integration, and restored embodiment is the first stop of your spiritual destination. For those of you who are of spirit, welcome aboard. It's really fun. The 5D mystics, they consistently expand with the full moon ascension energies and whatnot. And for the empowered feminine, as I was saying, it's a lot more of emotional and expanding to beyond societal construct, because we come in and get to disrupt it like we learned that Jesus did, although people tend to forget that he disrupted what was that yesterday's system, but he didn't do it in a way of being unapologetically rude. Okay, so remember what integrity is that, yeah, nobody gives a fuck about any of us in a way that makes us bigger or smaller. We're a collective of 8 billion people who are growing, and we know what year it is. It's the year 2025. AI technology isn't going to be a threat. We do not feel threatened. As the wise one that I got to hear said, it's not negative or positive. We're all part of consciousness, and consciousness leads. As a Reiki master and Akashic record reader, Anima Mundi, you accept all, reject none, remembering there is no question. God wins. I don't have a fear. I don't know how long I'll live. I hope I live a long, long time. That's my hope. Why? Because I love life. I love to love. And my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to live, and he loves to love and learn and expand and not cast stones. And mysticism is not about miracles. It is a profound exploration of the miracle of life, which is not perceivable by the 5 senses. And that is actually why, till death do you part, sickness and in health, right? How does that work? That one sentence, I remember learning it in catechism. And then I remember noticing that it's not about the tradition in the way of these old people who have such closed-mindedness, that you actually are going to be a person who keeps that promise. Yeah, for better or for worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do you part. It's when you know that your contribution to the world is you, how you live, how joyful you are, everything has an impact. So when you are your true self, it's a functional inner child adult, because you have the capacity to be self-aware, accountable, regulating. And so you know that every word you utter, every action you take, your very existence, is it about everyone's well-being, or is it just about you? Thank you, Sadhguru. I love his quotes. So when you meet adaptive child parts, it's not about everyone's well-being. They have biases, implicit, explicit. They have societal constructs, and then they use what is a protective stance. And so the life within you, Sadhguru again, is not there to serve your body, mind, or emotion. The body, mind, and emotion are here to serve life. And that's where the ones of us who are with spirit, that's why the empowered feminine, our expansion consistently involves us being able to detach from the aspect of life physically, but not without losing our self, our humanity. When you overflow with humanity, divinity descends, as Sadhguru shares. That's because you're an integrated brain and a restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating person. So your default mode network does not scan. I don't scan me to say, give me your thumbs up. Don't give a shit. I'm nobody and you're nobody. I do give a shit with my amygdala about your solo self and me and you being able to be attuning and resonating and trusting in the present, because I'm curious, open, accepting, and loving. I'm accepting of you however you may be. Now, romantic partner, we're doing the same thing together, okay? So we are able to be compassionate and loving and authentic and transparent in our ventral energy. I'm trying to help you understand this, because that's the equation that makes a difference. And that means curious, open, accepting, and loving. Not I will make assumptions. Not I will yell at you. Not that I'm right and you're wrong. Not that I control where we're headed, and not that I'm in a upset state and doing something on purpose and playing some kind of yesterday's news. So mindfully, spiritually living and loving men, women, and days, mystics and not. We come together and build empowering relationships, because that's where true love is at. And then we continue to share with humanity. Tradition is not going to look the same tomorrow. And really, tradition is upheld because we care about our humanity and our human species. And people that are closed-minded continue to use words like Lucifer, Luciferian, promiscuity, and talking about each other in ways that make me think of teenagers and gossip. I laugh because as a teenager... Okay, so I'm going to tell a story and then we're going to go. But the point is, as a polyamory woman, you're not poly enough. You have to be poly. That I read from Poly Wise. I'm like, what the fuck? Wow. Okay, you know what? That's messed up. But I know that that person needs Terry Real to become a grown-up, because that's a adaptive child. The minute that you're telling somebody that you're in a relationship with something like that, what the fuck? Makes me think again of my teenage years. Okay, so I'm gonna talk Maria talk, because as an empowered inner child, you better bet as a teenager. Oh yeah, try it. With Jesus and God, it's more like fuck that shit. And I didn't curse, but they couldn't do that. So the adolescent years, we have 11 is when the societal system, I believe they call, comes online. So that's when you move from your looking to your alloparenting home to making your own alloparenting group, okay? And so with that, I'm now creating my own alloparenting group. We all do the peer pressure thing. That was my 3 years of it. It was not shame, just me disregarding Maria's active brain and heart. But I learned. I said, okay, you learned. You're stupid, but you learned. It's okay. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that you learned. So that's how it worked for me. And that's because my mother consistently has held me with equanimity, so she doesn't make me feel shame because I make mistakes. We all make mistakes, okay? That's actually how life works. Also, God doesn't shame us for making mistakes either. So the people who make God out to be a monster, that's them. That's not... Yeah, so tradition, again, I use the word, but the reality is when I think of the way that those people use it, they use it like dinosaurs. So we're bringing something different. That's why they like to keep calling those of us who are mystics, Christian, Catholic mystics, the yoga mystics, however many different ways we can bring it in. They're going to be like, you're all assholes because you're mixing it all up. You don't have any respect for any of respect for what? Excuse me, I don't need to be respecting when I'm having a conversation. I was in college and I met people like that, and I was like, okay, you know what? And the only thing I can tell you all is that integrated brain people, we like all knowledge, all information. So we're not going to stop each other as we're speaking, because we're present, curious, open, accepting, loving. That's what confidence looks like. It's not, excuse me, you're confusing shit. Nobody's confusing shit. So death do part, richness and health, right? All that great stuff. Monoamory individuals who are also monogamists actively think polyamory is cheating, which is not. It's called consensual non-monogamy. Not to mention they don't know the intricacies of when you're talking to your partner and or partners and making decisions together, which also people don't understand. It seems that a secure attachment relationship is built because two people commit to being emotionally and physically there for each other and mentally. That's choices through conversation. So whenever I'm seeing any of that bullshit stereotypes online, I'm just thinking, okay, so diminutive, minuscule. It's nothing more than just, again, chit chatter of gossiping. And that's what YouTube is full of because of there being, as Schopenhauer points out, I guess the masses. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I really don't know. But I guess I could use Robert Sapolsky's determined to just say that no free will. But I, as a teenager, didn't do any of the shit I see. In fact, my teenage boyfriend, my first serious relationship, I said, look, I'm not jealous. In fact, he cheated on me. And this is where I did the forgiving thing, but not because I forgave. No, not in that way, because I was committed to the relationship. So was he. We talked it out. We cleared it up. They were silly things. Also, I knew what was missing from the relationship. Okay, so consistent open communication, which is where I didn't know. Why would I give up on the relationship? Also, again, I'm being taught in catechism that due part, sickness and health, you work things out. I'm not even in the awareness of polyamory yet. And once I did become aware, I don't find anything wrong with it. Actually, I brought up open relationship in another one of my future relationships because why not? I don't understand this thing about you're not mine. I ain't going to lose you. There's no way I can lose you unless you choose to want to drop me. And you don't drop me. Okay, so this is what empowered women, at least me, think. It's I don't have you in my pocket. You ain't my dog. I ain't holding you on a leash. Like, so long story short, this is the Jacob brain. Balance of the internally oriented and other oriented and not concerned with neither or neither. And this is a lovely rabbi who was breaking things down in that tree of life, which we all are one of our own. And he's also breaking down feminine, masculine. Okay, so remember, I'm an empowered feminine, and there is a difference because the distorted feminines are all masculines, empowered masculines, and I'm using Maria's words. But basically, nobody is going to be embodying their fullness if they're not a person who can be their higher self. So when you see people who are still healing their trauma charges, it's clear to 5D mystic for sure, and anybody who's a 5D person in general, because they're going to have non-traumatized eyes, and they're going to have the knowledge of the ears. But my point of mentioning the Jacob brain is because Isaac, internally oriented, and Abraham, other oriented, are people who don't have the default mode network down regulated. Okay, so when instead you do, and you have the courage to be in your prefrontal cortex, even while you're emotional, okay, so we're dealing with things from the depths of self-awareness, accountability, regulation, you get to keep being yourself. Even as an adolescent who made some choices that you didn't like, but you're not going to treat yourself with shame, blame, fault, revenge. I'm trying to help you walk a journey of where you don't lose your higher self. Your higher self consistently leads. You are recognizing and can always recognize where you disregarded that higher self. I had chosen on purpose. Yes, I mean, really. The reality is we were all teenagers, again, adolescents, insecure. I said the grown-ups were right about this. They taught us this. I now know better, and I choose my herd, and I chose it accordingly. And as I got older, that's what never changed. So you don't lose who you are once you have made the conscious choice and awareness of, okay, so I choose kindness, open-heartedness, and transparency. Why would I hide myself? Why would I be unkind? I'd be a hypocrite. Oh, no, I can't prove kindness, by the way, but I'm going to commit to it because that feels right to me. As pure consciousness and God and Jesus, Holy Spirit, and as a person, even if you get rid of the spirituality stuff, we all have a conscience. And that is where, psychologically speaking, the only group that doesn't perceive this conscience, and it's not even here, it's in the cerebral area. The way they explain it to you, and I have explained this to you before, the neuroscientists explain there's two parts of our brain that light up when we will be alerted to somebody needing us. The amygdala and another part. One of the part, they call it like a little bit like the Jiminy Cricket, the conscious. It's a little bit less loud. No, it's like a lot less loud or something like that for those who have the psychopathy spectrum. Also, the amygdala is alerted differently. It has a different way it pulsates and colors and all that. So there's a brain structure with a very specific chemistry. This is why the neuroscientists explain it better. My point is there's an explanation. There's no lack of imagination for evil. No, there's an explanation, and that's not evil. It's a person who doesn't need to be put in a box. But if we really must use evil, we have a lovely forensic criminologist, Michael Stone, who's made us a 1 to 24, and they all need therapy. But my point is no need to demonize anything that is explainable by sciences. which is where the ignorant human beings are. So I'm a teenager, don't have any of this information, but I have God, I have Jesus, I have Holy Spirit. I'm seeing all these kids be kids. Didn't see Lucifer by the time I'm 19, just cowards, liars, and cheaters, and envy, jealous, all of that. And I'm just thinking, this is not going to make me become like them. I also didn't think, oh my God, I want them to change. Okay, so a person who's empowered to be their self doesn't keep on looking around at what other people are doing, because that's going to take my brain time and my heart time. Why? Being yourself is easy for those who have become and have chosen to be empowered. And we care about our herd. So we don't discriminate, meaning we don't demonize and we don't make monsters out to be anything. There's no monsters except for those who have still nightmare in their heads. I, as a mystic, have seen many things, will continue to see many things. I download, I'm an Akashic record reader. I'm not scared because I embody Maria. I'm in my aliveness because I have depth of emotional and mental and physical capacity. It's called integration of the brain and restorative embodiment. And you don't do it by yourself. No, you actively do it every time you stub your toe, which is why dealing with the unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds, unexpecteds from an open heart while going with the flow. That's the practice that we get to have. It's called expanding your consciousness, and then, that's where you get to share it together. Lovely, good relationships. They are not afraid to break, because nobody can break a relationship that has transparency, authenticity, and is building based on a solid foundation of I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to live and learn and expand and not cast stones. And basically, we all are free to be whoever we want to be, because we know healthy self-worth and respect. So it's a word that we will use maybe differently, but we'll know what it means. And it means that we have the safety to be ourselves and not to have to hide who we are, and that we all are healthy, self-soothing and regulating people. Nobody's bringing their trauma into the room. Nobody's bringing their child into the room. Nobody's bringing scary anything. It's unfortunate business that 3D 4D collective will not be learning any of this, because the reason why people get into relationships that are not healthy is because they don't reclaim themselves and they don't unpause. As Patrick Tian has pointed out, they don't know how to love themselves first, so they keep they keep dating beneath themselves and not healing. But some live out their actual self-fulfilling prophecies, like my facade friend, and more than just that. And so the 3D 4D relationships, they enjoy each other. Patrick Tiahan has pointed out they can make a toxic relationship look like peachy cheesy. Yes, I've seen them. And that's because since 2007, I've been on my mystic journey. Before that, I already had my downloads with God and Jesus. I just didn't see them the same way because of being in a very different spectrum. But as I moved into light body, rainbow body, and it's really fun, by the way. I do love that spirituality and sciences gets to come together, and that our future will see this, and that we have the capacity to know pure consciousness in form, which is pure love, and then to be able to share it with other, and each of us our own embodiment of this beautiful inner child that is a functional adult that can be shared with each other and the world. And again, when we're with Cuscos, we don't do, you can't be here, Cusco. We leave it alone. But in the meantime, we try to support those of us, each other, that are definitely not welcomed everywhere, but also, continuing to chit-chat about it. So as a teenager, I talked about not being jealous. And when my boyfriend cheated on me the first time, I said, look, I'm not going to be checking in on you like our friends do. This doesn't break my trust. This thing happened. We're going to move forward. By the third time, I said, okay. And it was with my BFFF, who I went to talk to about a week later. But I said, now, just make up your mind. We're getting older. I'm about to go off to college soon. You know this. So you just decide what you want to do, because this is getting ridiculous as we got older. As for the other stories I was going to say or share, one in particular, I have a friend of mine, her boyfriend broke up with her because of a rumor that she had slept with all the kids of the town, which was not true at all, and she took him back. I would not have taken him back. Not to mention, I would be like, wow, you're so close-minded. What year do you live in? Is this the Scarlet Letter time? So already as a teenager, I'm thinking, really? You, man, judging what? That somebody wants to fuck. Not that this is where age, I do believe, matters, but let me put that to the side, because I'm a grown up now, meaning that as a grown up, I won't be supporting any of that, which is what my teenager people that I get to hear from, they say, "You're too serious. I don't like you." And I'm like, yeah, I'm a very overprotective human being. So it's a good thing that I don't have to be anyone to anyone like that. Because definitely I'm not like, with everything that we know happens out there, women and men, some of us really need to keep our minds free, meaning that it's too much. I feel for parents. I would not want to be one because I don't see those 3D, 4D people moving anywhere. So I'm more like, what the hell? There's still a lot of individuals who need to get out of trauma time, and they really don't want to, and they keep on insulting us, and the world keeps on. But I digress. Long story short, relationships. They're really awesome when you got smart people in the room, when you got ignorant people. Teenager I was, talking 96, 97. This stuff going on by the time I'm 99, 19, 20, going out with people who ask each other for permission. I'm like, excuse me? That's, I don't even ask my mom to go to vacation permission. What are you doing? You're adults now. And then I'm moving into my mid-20s and I'm into open relationship. I'm fine with, like, okay, we don't need to be in each other's face all the time. I'm not afraid that I'm going to lose you. Like, this doesn't change. And moving forward. So being able to move beyond the one, that one was something that happened while our planet was going through a very important ascension. And that's where I did know what was going on. And I did know why the Twin Flame Collective became a whole thing. But that's where I was still processing the 4D, 3D, all of it, and attachment trauma. I was still getting educated. So today, at this point, I'm like, okay, I know who our collective is. And that's for 5D mystics, spiritual, mindful, living, loving people. Join us and the healthy self-worth individuals. We care about mental health, meaning we're healed and healing and support healthy self-worth, empowering relationships, and we don't shame the Cuscos out there. We don't shame people who don't want to get healed because we don't need to. We know how to be equanimous. That's a leadership position, is your ventral vagal. We know how to speak from our tones if we must. And sometimes if they push it, we will speak, at least from an empowered feminine's perspective. I can tell you, yeah, if have to be. We like not to be put in those positions, but sometimes it happens. But meantime, the only ones who find themselves in dramatic situations are the same ones who disregard a Patrick Tiahan and going to get their childhood trauma healed. And that's because they say, no, I'm doing awesome in this relationship that is completely dramatic. And I'm like, yeah, no, this isn't a relationship. But okay, if you're happy, I mean, really, I can't do much, can I? So we'll be back with more. Like, share, and subscribe. It'll help the channel grow. And have a great full moon.